News 2 is your local election headquarters. For weeks, Joe Biden has hinged his hopes on South Carolina granting him a comeback. This morning, he's waking up the winner of the Democratic primary. Mary Maloney has the latest.
Joe Biden celebrates in South Carolina.
We just won, and we've won big because of you.
The 77-year-old notched his first ever nominating contest win, more than 3 decades after he launched the first of his 3 campaigns for the White House, leaving frontrunner Bernie Sanders trailing behind.
There are a lot of states in this country, nobody wins them all. I want to congratulate Joe Biden on his victory tonight.
Voters in the Palmetto State giving Biden a much-needed boost after the former vice president struggled in the previous 3 states. But his campaign focused on South Carolina, the first state with a majority black Democratic electorate. Biden says he's connected with the community.
Now you launched our campaign on the path to defeating Donald Trump.
After spending millions in South Carolina, billionaire Tom Steyer says the voters have spoken.
I can't see a path where I can win the presidency.
Biden hopes the win will springboard his campaign into Super Tuesday, where about 1/3 of all pledged delegates are at stake.
Are you ready for Super Tuesday?
Other candidates already spending time and money in Super Tuesday states, trying to prove to voters their campaigns can last.
So Maine, I need your vote.
This is the moment to dream big, fight hard, and win.
In Columbia, South Carolina, I'm Mary Maloney.
Environmental activist Tom Steyer is dropping out of the race for president. The billionaire spent millions of dollars of his own money on his run, but it isn't showing in the results of Democratic primaries. News 2's Hannah Powers has the latest.
An emotional atmosphere at the Tom Steyer official primary night watch party with the announcement that the businessman has decided to suspend his presidential campaign. He was here reflecting on the campaign, but also delivering the news that he does not intend on taking it any further.
Said if I didn't see a path to winning, that I'd suspend my campaign. And honestly, I can't see a path where I can win the presidency. So am I going to continue to work on every single one of these issues? Yes, of course I am, because I've never stopped. That's what I'm here for. And let me say, I kept trying to say this during the campaign, I'm a huge grassroots person.
Steyer certainly spent a lot of time and money on this campaign, but he made a pledge to stay invested in South Carolina and invested in his efforts to support marginalized people and fight for policy regarding climate change. Reporting in Columbia, I'm Hannah Powers. Count on 2.
Election officials say the primary election went smoothly and that there were multiple reasons for Biden's win. News 2's Raymond Owens talked to party leaders at the Democratic Party media room in Columbia and has more.
State leaders tell me the election itself basically went off without a hitch for the most part, but it definitely realigned the overall election for Vice President Biden. Now, Jay Parmley, the executive director of the South Carolina Democratic Party, talked with me about the vice president's win. He said this is, of course, a very much needed win for Biden, but he told me polling data showing more than 40% of those polled said their vote was impacted by Congressman Jim Clyburn's endorsement this week was a very key factor. He also told me South Carolina's demographics look a lot more like the national demographics, with a much larger portion of non-white voters than we saw in the earlier state primary votes.
We also have a longer history with the vice president in some cases than other places. He spent a lot of time in South Carolina over the years. He has spent, like massive amounts of time with he and his family. And I think there's he has a comfort level here that maybe he didn't have in some other places.
Parmley tells me that while this was a much needed night for Joe Biden, on Tuesday that could be a much needed night for Michael Bloomberg and could determine his future in this race. In Columbia, I'm Raymond Owens. Count on 2.
The election HQ is chalking down Saturday's primary as a success. News 2's Temple Rickey spoke with election officials who say Charleston County saw an increase in registered voters.
The polls are closed and Charleston County saw a big increase from 2016 to 2020 in the number of registered voters. Here to talk about it, we have Isaac Kramer, the project manager, and this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, so during any election time, we see usually a huge increase in the number of registered voters. That is due to the parties, the campaigns, other groups, civic groups, churches. They're really pushing this voter registration drives, get registered in time for the election so people can vote. So we saw that here in 2020 leading up to the February primary today.
And we also were seeing the new voting machines being used today. This is the first presidential primary that they really were able to get tested out. How did that work?
So I think things went very smooth today. Obviously, it's a new system, so some voters had to get used to that. There's a paper trail and a paper component. So we just had to educate voters today, show them how it was done, how to demonstrate the machines. And we've done that in the community. We've gone to different civic groups, the churches, outreach events to get voters familiar with it. So today, some voters got to see it for the first time, and we just had to explain it a little bit. But overall, voters are very comfortable with this system because it's a paper record and it's secure. From top down, we got our poll managers that are out there. You know, they're getting up super early in the morning for us to work for you, to serve you, make sure you get to vote. And then you have your local election officials who work at Headquarters Road. You know, we did all-around team today. It was a great night, and we're just really excited for a successful election day.
Well, thank you so much for being with us, Isaac. Like he said, a great night here in Charleston County. Reporting in North Charleston, Temple Ricky, count on 2.
Here is a look at how the candidates are doing with delegates according to NBC News. Senator Bernie Sanders is still in the lead this morning with 57 delegates. Vice President Joe Biden second place with 51 delegates, followed by Pete Buttigieg with 26. Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar round out the top 5 with 8 and 7 delegates respectively. No other candidates currently have any delegates, and a candidate needs 1,991 to clinch the party's nomination. Our political coverage continues online. Our one-on-one interviews with candidates, candidate quizzes, and your 2020 election guide. It's all up on our website. Just head over to counton2.com. Click on the Your Local Election Headquarters tab located under the News tab.